Hello and welcome to the Hill and Ponton VA Disability Blog. I'm Matthew Hill here with Carol Ponton, and today we want to talk about the VA Disability Compensation Appeals Backlog. Last year or so there had been a lot of talk in VA cutting down on their initial claim backlog, and then just this year we've heard a little bit about the appeals backlog. What have you been hearing, Carol?
Well, first of all, I want you to know how they did try to get caught up on the new claims. They essentially had all the people doing appeals stop and work on the new claims. And so the backlog for appeals just is enormous. Mm-hmm. And I know you've read about it, but I want you to understand how it works. The VA, because they're so far behind, has a policy where they are going to take each case by the date the notice of disagreement was filed. So that's not your rating decision. The rating decision comes out, tells you what they are or are not going to approve, and then you file your appeal to it, which is called a notice of disagreement. That's the date. The date you file that notice of disagreement is the date that the VA will get to your case after they've gotten to everybody before you.
It's kind of like going to the deli and you get the ticket.
That's right.
And you could have been standing there for a while, but it's not till you get that ticket that you're acknowledged.
And I would say the three states that we know of are extremely backed up are California, Texas, and Florida. Now, others are or aren't. I find Colorado seems to be farther ahead than others. They seem to be pretty caught up. So basically, I would say most of these states are still working on the year 2011. So that's appeals that were filed in 2011, not rating decisions, appeals. Now, in each office, in each state, you're going to have people who are farther ahead and farther behind than others, but the average is 2011. Now, the way that you get your case moved up is very, very difficult. Because the VA is so far behind, they are very strict on who they're going to move ahead. And they require severe financial disability in order to move anybody ahead. So they either don't want you, but they're looking for people who are homeless, who have an eviction notice, who have a foreclosure notice, who have had the lights turned off, who can't eat. And so if you're in that situation, you need to let the VA know, but you can't just send them, I'm having a hard time. You have to send them proof, copy of the foreclosure, a copy of the eviction notice, some specific information that lets them know that you are in a very desperate situation.
And that can seem comical or just in a black humor kind of way, in that, they want proof. The hardest ones are when you can't eat or when you're homeless. I had a homeless veteran, and the VA said, prove he's homeless, which is just idiotic on its face. But
because sometimes what they do is I've watched what they do is they will look up what address is this person using, and if it's a house, they say, well, this is a house, it must be living there. Well, that could be a friend who's letting their mail go there. So you can't just send this out. You have to give them some information about what's going on with you specifically, and then you can't let it lie. They end up moving homeless vets or people in dire financial situations from one line to another, and then they get to you when they finish that line. If you're having a hard time, you need to keep applying. You need to keep letting the VA know what's going on. We have people that we contact and we let them know, and we find we get a much better response when all of the information is there and the VA really needs to act. We've been able to successfully get these people to act once the evidence is in there and the VA has had time to act, and they haven't.
Right. And so Carol spoke to all the things to do, or the piece of evidence you can put in if the IRS is coming after you or you're getting your utilities turned off. But as I was saying, with the homeless and those not getting enough to eat, it's kind of strange. But I've had homeless individuals where what we ended up having to do was write out a statement. Tell me your day. This is the park bench I sleep on. This is the bathroom in the grocery store where I bathe or change. It's
pathetic, but
it's humiliating what the VA makes you do. But at the same time, if you need the benefits, let's worry about that later. But then also with I had another veteran who wasn't getting enough to eat, and the VA said, prove it. And so we had to get a letter from the food pantry where the veteran went, and they talked about how the veteran ran out of food as the month went on. So, again, these are situations where you should be able to jump out of line in the appeals. But overall, as Carol was saying, they might be talking about the appeals doing better, but we're still seeing quite a backlog. And it's a backlog to where unless you have a very bad reason to expedite, which includes a terminal illness, there's not much
not able to get medical care.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a number of things. And I also want to reach out to the veterans we represent, because remember, if your situation changes, you need to let us know. You know, when you come to us, you may not have the situation, but things change, and you should let us know right away. And if you not say, I'm having a hard time, but just give me something specific, I'm being evicted, I'm whatever, and I will be on it. Okay?
Yeah, we you know, we don't always get to know up front what's going on with our vets, but you know, the more we get help, the more we can turn around and hopefully get the VA to pay attention to those situations.
And sometimes people are in better situations. They may have just stopped working. They may have had money saved. But as these horribly lengthy appeal periods go on, their financial situation just becomes worse.
They can be drained, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope that this was informative and look forward to seeing you again on this space soon.